Hi, welcome to the City of Seattle Department of Construction and Inspections 2021 Stormwater Code and Manual Update. This is the second training session. We're going to be focusing a little bit more on the updates that have been made to the specific best management practices for the 2021 manual. The first session was more of an overview of drainage review requirements, and mixed in with that were the 2021 changes. This is more specific to the BMPs, and you can refer to the first session on our stormwater website. Again, my name's Eric Drips, and I am a drainage reviewer here with SDCI. Thanks for joining us. So the agenda here is just to jump right in and go into the on-site stormwater management best management practices updates for the 2021 code. We'll go into each specific BMP and highlight the changes that have been made in the manual. For more detailed information, always visit our stormwater code page for all the documents discussed, including the updated manual, which will is a helpful tool for looking at all of the requirements for the different BMPs. So for volume 3, these are some updated BMPs in chapter 5, and the X's in the table indicate changes from the 2016 manual, and we'll look at the specific key changes here in the next couple of slides. So it will include the soil amendment BMP and the tree planting and retention BMP. So here's the soil amendment BMP. So soil amendments required on any disturbed area that won't be hard surface. So the updates for the 2021 manual is that we've added language on soil management plan requirements. So soil management plan is a new potential requirement that can be used to manage soil for your site. So for one example, a soil management plan could be used to, in lieu of providing stormwater treatment for landscaped areas. So there's some more details about a soil management plan. There's an updated figure 5.1, which is shown here, which gives some step-by-step procedure for installing the soil amendment on site. It's a little bit more detailed. And for the manual, we've also had some clarified modeling guidance, acceptance mulching material, medium and coarse compost, removed bark and leaves. Compost and other materials can either meet either of the two listed organic content requirements. So there's some more specifics that have been added for the soil amendment BMP, and you can refer to the stormwater manual for more detail. So for tree planting and retention for the 2021 updates, some of the updates include tree list and tree size requirements for newly planted trees for consistency with the green factor director's rule. Reference to approved tree species updated list will be posted on SDCI's website in the future. Structure setback for newly planted trees. Now there's a minimum of 5 feet or 1/3 of the mature canopy diameter, whichever is greater. And there's some supplemental irrigation requirements as well. And this table shown here is some clarification for the on-site list approach credits that have been updated for the 2021 manual. So for dispersion BMPs, the X's again are indicating the updates to the BMPs from the 2016 manual. And we'll look at some of the specifics in the following slides for dispersion BMPs. And again, sidewalk, trail, compost amendment strip, that's a brand new BMP. So as you can see, everything obviously has changed from the 2016 manual for that BMP. So for dispersion BMPs, the flow path requirements have been updated. Figures 5.3, 0.4, and 5.5 have been updated, demonstrating the flow path requirements. The precise flow control credits, the various tables in the manuals have also been updated, and continuous modeling assumptions have also been updated for dispersion BMPs. The clarifications include portions of a site that may be fully dispersed with a vegetated flow path of at least 100 feet. So that's a category 1 BMP, and it's been clarified for the portions of the site that may be fully dispersed. And some of the modeling assumptions for hard surface areas dispersed have been updated, and that's table 5.11. So again, these figures have been updated to clarify and update the required flow paths for the various dispersion BMPs. So the sidewalk trail compost amended strip is a new BMP. It can be used for trails or sidewalks to mitigate for on-site stormwater management list approach for sidewalks up to 25 feet wide. All widths, hard surface BMP or level spreader, are measured perpendicular to the edge of the hard surface adjacent to the BMP. So it has to be perpendicular is where you take that 20-foot measurement. And that can really be seen in this figure here about how it's being measured perpendicular. You can also see that the longitudinal slope has a maximum of 8%. The type of vegetation is clarified in the manual. It needs to be turf or dense ground cover, but additional shrubs and trees are acceptable. Overflow path must be vegetated at least 10 feet and have 10 feet from the flow path to an adjacent private property. So the additional 10 feet is not required from the right of way. So, and also added sizing factors and clarification for how to model this BMP have been included in the manual. So for volume 3, chapter 5, the infiltration BMPs, again, we're showing the changes that have been made with the X's for the new manual, and the only update was for an external reference to the stormwater manual for Western Washington in section 5.4.8 for infiltration basins. So you can see that there is no X's for the infiltration basins. That's the only change that has been made for that. So for infiltration trenches, the updates include modeling approach text for clarity. So just some general clarifications in the text for modeling infiltration text, infiltration trenches. Figure 5.8 has been updated, and clarifications include exemption related to underground injection wells at single-family houses. A constructed overflow is not required for BMPs designed to infiltrate all flows for required simulation period. So that's been clarified in the manual. So the requirements for elimination of an overflow from a site, essentially you would need an engineer to model the facility to show that the entire 158-year simulation period rainfall is being infiltrated on site for a project to eliminate an overflow for the BMP. Removed was a yard drain option for flow entrance and pre-settling. For the infiltration trench, it will have to be a catch basin. For dry wells, again, also modeling approach has been updated. The figure 5.10 has been updated for the details of the dry well. The peak control standard sizing factors have been updated. That's table 5.18. Clarification again for underground injection wells for single family houses, and clarification similar to infiltration trenches for elimination of the overflow from the BMP. For infiltrating bioretention, design criteria for contributing area, ponding area, bioretention, soil, plants, and mulch area have been updated and clarified. So won't get into every single detail for some of these clarifications, but all of those have been updated in the manual. The sizing factors have been updated, so the tables for the sizing factors, 5.21, 2.2, and 2.3 have been updated, as well as the figures in the manual. The clarifications, so cells larger than 800 square feet are allowable to treat a regional area, but requires the permission of the director. A constructed overflow is not required, but BMP designed to infiltrate all flows for. So again, this is, as you can see, this is a consistent update, is that if you're eliminating the overflow, there's been some additional clarification made in the manual for how to, what is required to meet that. Clean wash drainage gravel or mulch is allowed in lieu of plants if a licensed landscape architect determines plants will not survive in shaded conditions. So there are situations where you may be placing a bioretention underneath a walkway or underneath a roof overhang. And if the licensed architect says that, for one, that's the only location that you can site this facility, and also that the specifics of the site are such that the required plants will not be able to survive in that level of sunlight, then they can be replaced with wash gravel or mulch. For rain gardens, the allowable ponding depth in the right-of-way has been updated 3 inches. Sizing factors have been updated, and the figure. A constructed overflow, again, it's not required if you meet certain requirements. Aggregate mulch is allowed. Specific right-of-way setbacks have also been replaced with a reference to Client Assistant Memo 1190. For permeable pavement facilities, the design criteria for flow entrance, pre-settling, wearing course, subsurface check dams, geotextiles, and observation and maintenance ports have been updated. So as you can see, the detail has also been updated with the observation and maintenance port being shown there. The peak control standard sizing factors have been updated. The figures have been updated. Minimum construction requirements. Clarification, again, has been made for elimination of overflows, and what has been removed is the simplified comparison table, replacing with text describing the main difference between permeable pavement facilities and surfaces. So that's been removed, and it's been replaced with simple text in the manual. So for permeable pavement facilities, added new edge treatment figures. So it may be required that you add an edge to a permeable pavement facility for purposes of maintaining integrity of the facility. And so some details have been added to the manual to clarify that. And a geomembrane edge example is also shown if you're showing either the concrete edge or a geomembrane. These are provided as possible edge treatments, but the city will also allow other options, including potentially proprietary options as well for edge treatments. So perforated stub out conditions, the figure's been updated, and it's been clarified if an overflow is to be eliminated. For infiltration chambers and vaults, the updated BMP name to add vaults, so it could consist of an infiltration vault that's essentially a detention vault without a bottom that allows for infiltration. Figure 5.22 has been updated. Some of the operation and maintenance requirements have been updated, and the elimination of overflow and underground injection wells at single-family homes have been clarified. Applicability for pre-sized approach has been clarified for this BMP, and design criteria for liners and observation maintenance ports has been added for infiltration chambers and vaults. So we're moving on to rainwater harvesting and single-family cisterns, which have made some changes in the updated code. So rainwater harvesting, there's a new category 4 sizing criteria. So there is a category 2 sizing criteria, which typically does not need to be evaluated, but now there's a category 4 sizing criteria if rainwater harvesting is selected for category 4, the on-site list, the rainwater harvesting system shall reduce discharge rooftop runoff by 25% on an average annual basis as determined by an approved continuous simulation model. So there is that category 4 in the list approach requires that modeling to be provided in order to use that BMP. There's some updated site considerations. On-site list approach has been updated because you have the category 4 approach and the category 2. On-site performance standard modeling approach has been updated, and assumptions for determining rainwater demand have been updated. Added is BMP sizing approach for category 2 and 4 on the on-site list. And this table here is the updated assumptions table that was mentioned. So for single-family residential cistern, the updates have included site considerations and sizing factors. So the single-family residential cistern is a category 5 BMP and can only be used for single-family houses. Single-family projects. Okay, so for vegetated roof systems and permeable pavement surfaces, we'll go over some of the changes that have occurred there. So for vegetated roof systems, the sizing factors have been updated. Table 5.34 clarified. It has been above grade impervious surfaces at least 10 feet above grade. Added has been irrigation requirements, minimum of 5 growing seasons. Note to clarify fertilizer application on vegetated roofs. And removed has been a restriction on fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides after 2-year plant establishment period. So for permeable pavement surface, the sizing factors, table 5.36 has been updated for permeable pavement surfaces with and without check dams. Modeling approach has been updated to be more consistent with the Western Washington Manual. Added has been new design criteria for the design of underdrain surfaces to be equivalent to permeable pavement surfaces. So that's really to make sure if you're going to have a permeable pavement surface that the underdrain is located such that the equivalent amount of aggregate is still below that underdrain so that effectively the permeable pavement surface still acts as a permeable pavement surface even though it's being underdrained. And a note has been added regarding the additional aggregate depth for stormwater storage. So below the under drain. Okay, for non-infiltrating bioretention, see what changed in the new manual for non-infiltrating bioretention. So the on-site list sizing table, table 5.45, was updated to align with the water quality treatment sizing factors. The pre-sizing table, table 5.6, was also updated to remove sizing for peak control standards, since non-infiltrating bioretention with 12 inches of ponding does not meet peak control standards. So previously, non-infiltrating bioretention with 12 inches could be used to meet peak flow control, but that has, for the new manual, has been removed. Liner can be omitted if the horizontal setbacks are met and there's no geotechnical or contamination concerns. So if, even though infiltration is not feasible for the site, it could be eliminated as long as there's no adjacent steep slopes that are of concern and that you're maintaining setbacks from buildings. Even though the soil might not be getting very good infiltration, there's no hazards to the property or downstream property, so we can consider elimination of the impermeable liner underneath. The sizing factors and the figures have been updated, and clarifications have been added for the setbacks. The design criteria for hydraulic restriction layer, liner, and bioretention soil mix have been clarified. So that's just a brief overview of some of the changes for the different on-site stormwater management best management practices, and we hope to have some sessions in the future where we look at individual best management practices a little bit more in depth. Some of the different design criteria that can be used, and some of the potential challenges in using each of the BMPs to meet the requirements for stormwater code. We'll try and get into a little bit more detail for each BMP in future sessions. So again, you're always welcome to contact us directly at sidesewerinfo@seattle.gov if you have questions, or at 206-684-5362 if you have questions. And stay tuned. We're going to have a question and answer session online here in May or June of 2021 to help answer any questions about the update or submitting for your project, or any other specific questions that you have for meeting the stormwater code. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great day.